At the Start of the End, the final installment of Karl Ove Knausgaard's 6-part autobiographical series. It's the autumn of 2009 and Karl Ove is about to publish the first volume of it, A Death in the Family. He's driving along in Sweden, where he lives with his wife and 3 children. It's a lovely day, but Karl Ove's mind is full of disquiet. I was struck by a feeling that such a day wasn't supposed to happen, he says. Karl Ove is not someone who normally has lovely days. The oddity of this one, the sun shining in mid-September, tinged my joy with a sense of unease, he tells us. Well, you might say, thank goodness for that. There's nothing duller than a person telling you how great their life is. And if you've read the first 5 volumes, collectively titled My Struggle, you'll know that Karl Ove is full of inner conflict. He tells us the things about his life that most people try to hide, such as his real emotions when his father died. He couldn't feel anything much at first, or the squabbles he has with his wife, or his periods of self-hatred, like when he cuts his face with broken glass. And now, as we'll see, his inner conflict has reached boiling point as the first volume of My Struggle rolls off the press. Karl Ove Knausgaard is moving on with his life after My Struggle. Does it have anything to do with Hitler, I hear you ask? Yes, it does. Soon, we go back in time, to the summer of 2009. Karl Ove has sent copies of A Death in the Family to some of the people who appear in it as a courtesy. Mostly they're fine about the way he's depicted them, and the fact that he's used their real names. But one person is not fine, Karl Ove's uncle Gunnar, his father's brother. In fact, Gunnar is incandescent with rage. He says Karl Ove's descriptions of his father are completely wrong. Karl Ove described his father as a broken drunk who lived with his mother, also a broken drunk, in a house full of shit and empty booze bottles. Gunnar says this is not true. He threatens legal action. There's something I ought to say at this point. This book is more than 1,150 pages long. So the next bit, in which Karl Ove begins to doubt his own memory about the things he saw when he cleaned up after his dead father, takes up a solid chunk of it, but is as long as a novel in itself. And it's compelling. Once again, Karl Ove is consumed with anxiety. I felt like I did when I was a little boy and had done something wrong. And now he's even more terrified about the second volume, which contains lots of personal details about his wife. So we watch him, on the edge of a breakdown, obsessively smoking and checking emails and questioning himself, but surely he can't go on like this for 1,150 pages. Well, no. Every so often he goes off on a sally into another subject, another one of his obsessions. He thinks about writing and God and sex and death. He thinks about Shakespeare and Faulkner and Thomas Bernhard. What he wrote and achieved, he says of Bernhard, was completely out of my reach. John Fosse the same, but not a writer like Jonathan Franzen. Him I could match, and probably even surpass. The same was true of Coetzee, and then Karl Ove's thoughts turned to Adolf Hitler. For hundreds of pages he does something unusual. He imagines what it must have been like to be the young Hitler, before he became the figure everybody hates. We watch him, on the edge of a breakdown, obsessively smoking, checking emails and questioning himself. William Leith. Karl Ove concentrates on the period after Hitler's parents had died but before the First World War. It feels extremely odd, looking at Hitler before he did the things the world hates him for. What was his life like? Well, he applied to the Academy of Fine Art in Vienna. He was rejected but he didn't tell anyone. So, for a year, he lived a lie, pretending to be a student. He had some family money, which was running out. He couldn't talk to women. When the money ran out, he slipped down the social scale. He was constitutionally unable to get a regular job. He was full of mad ideas. He became homeless. He slept in the park. He was spotted at a soup kitchen, looking grotty and broken. He lived in hostels and started selling his cheesy paintings. He had the smallest talent. He just about got by. It's a daring end to a brilliant series. There's even a section on Anders Breivik, the Norwegian mass killer. What is Karl Ove saying? That human beings have many sides. That Karl Ove feels self-hatred on a Hitlerian scale. All of this, I suspect, and more. I will read this series again and again. Why couldn't I keep all the badness to myself like other people did? Karl Ove asks. But no, I had to go and shove it in everyone's face. Well, I'm glad he did. The End by Karl Ove Knausgaard, Trans Martin Aitken and Don Bartlett, Harville Secker, £25. Buy it here.